Since time immemorial, people have used the power of music to disrupt the status quo and challenge injustice. Today, with a brand new Middle East war spiraling out of control and threatening to disrupt the global economy, I imagine many musicians are wondering just how they should respond. How can they use their medium to express outrage, to hold our leaders accountable, to, just help us make sense of it all? Obviously, there are many valid answers to this question. You can be hard or soft, direct or subtle. You could emphasize the horrors of war or offer a utopian vision of peace. Or you could, just regurgitate your own government's propaganda.
We'll put a boot in your ass, it's the American way.
Rest in peace, Toby. But personally, I've always been fond of the art of satire. And that brings us to the band that I think meets today's particular political moment. Today I'm going to talk about a punk / thrash / hardcore, whatever you want to call it, band. And these guys were relatively obscure in their own time and almost forgotten today. In fact, the only reason I know about them is because of the review site markprindle.com. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Mark Prindle, but if you haven't, he's amazing. Check him out. There's going to be a link in the description. But people should know about this band for a number of reasons. And I think with everything going on in the news today, it might be the perfect time to reintroduce them to the world. The name of this band is Fearless Iranians from Hell. Yes, you heard that right. Fearless Iranians from Hell were a punk band from the 80s that posed as militant Iranian terrorists and sang songs about fighting holy wars, killing American Marines, and getting high on Persian hash.
Hell yeah, brother! Yeah, brother!
Now, on the surface, this seems like a fairly offensive concept, and yes, there was a certain degree of shock value as part of the intent. But when you take into account the broader context, it becomes clear that this is a fairly clever satire that holds up a mirror to America's manufactured fear of Iran and the Islamic world in general. As you probably know, Iran and the USA have been at odds for quite some time. The seeds of conflict were planted in 1953 when the CIA overthrew Mohammad Mossadegh, the democratically elected prime minister of Iran, and replaced him with the brutally repressive Shah. In 1979, a coalition of Iranian rebel factions launched a revolution which successfully overthrew the Shah. The revolution soon came to be dominated by the Islamist faction adhering to the Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, and once Khomeini consolidated his power, the Islamic Republic of Iran was declared. It was during the chaos of the revolution that 66 American hostages were taken captive at the U.S. Embassy in Iran, where they were held for a grueling 444 days. For many Iranians, the hostage-taking was an act of revenge against a superpower that had long meddled in their own country's affairs. But Americans, lacking this historical context, could only see it as a pointless act of cruelty. Iran and its supreme leader were painted as bloodthirsty terrorist thugs, an impression that persists in our cultural imagination to this day. And guys, I'm not saying that Khomeini was a great guy or that the Iranian regime isn't brutal and theocratic and awful. I'm just saying that each country is rich and complex, and there's a lot of depth to this society, as there is with any other society. So you can't judge a country by its leaders. I mean, God knows, if we did that for America, if the entire world judged America by its current leadership, I would want to do things that you cannot talk about on YouTube. But it was this exact stereotype of violent terroristic depravity that Fearless Iranians from Hell were trying to spoof. So let's get into the band's history a bit. The group was founded in San Antonio, Texas in 1983 by an actual Persian named Amir Mamori. Amir was part of the Iranian exile community that had left the country when Khomeini rose to power, and he was disgusted by all the racism he experienced by Americans who just couldn't tell the difference between the country and the regime. With album titles like Die for Allah, Holy War, and Foolish Americans, it's pretty clear these guys were trying to play off the attitudes people held about Iran. The conceit is that they're singing from the perspective of Islamic militants. I mean, just get a load of these lyrics.
I'm gonna kill a Marine! I wanna ruin his family! 40 gun in his head! One shot, then he's dead! Fucking make a nickel! Then I'm back away! Fucking your children! And the
So you can see it's all delightfully over the top. And while I think this should scan as satire to anybody with a brain, remember that these guys were operating in Texas during the 1980s. So, yeah, there were a lot of people who didn't get the joke and they got pretty pissed off. Basically, these guys were putting on a masterclass in trolling. The aura of mystery and terror was compounded by the fact that they never did interviews, and thus for many people it was hard to figure out exactly where they stood. As Amir himself put it, our ultimate aim is to insult every last person and nation in the world. Love it. But Fearless Iranians from Hell were more than just a novelty act. Not only do their lyrics hold a mirror to our own stereotypes, but the music itself it just fucking rips. The band managed to combine punk, thrash, and hardcore influences into a musical concoction that was deceptively clever. The riffs are catchy without sacrificing aggression, the production is grimy in just the right way, and the drumming is just badass. Personally, if you are looking for a starting point, I highly recommend the album Holy War. It is just a masterpiece from start to finish. Fearless Iranians from Hell released their final album in 1990 and broke up shortly thereafter. By then, the act had pretty much ran its course. They didn't want to repeat themselves. And, besides, Ayatollah Khomeini had actually died the previous year, so Iran was starting to seem a little bit less frightening. For the time being. And while I will give the band members credit for never attempting any kind of cash-grabby reunion tour, I think it's a shame that more people don't know about them because, honestly, they're pretty cool. Is listening to this band now gonna stop our government from prosecuting its pointless and destructive war in the real Iran? Probably not. But I still think they have something valuable to impart. Perhaps this obscure, sardonic punk group is just what we need right now to remind ourselves that our so-called enemies are actually human after all. And remember too that in a world besieged by bombs, drones, missiles, and God knows what else is coming down the line, humor is still the ultimate weapon. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to this channel, please, if you like hearing a dumb Midwestern guy talk about weird music. And leave a comment if you've heard of this band, or if you're an Iranian agent who wants to, workshop his psyops a little bit. Go nuts.